Good morning, Giants. Welcome to Wake Up with Giants TV. Have you ever wondered how to feel good and give back? Well, we have a guest from the future. That's right, boys and girls. We brought in a special guest, Alyssa Ann from the future in Australia. She's a day ahead.
Oh, almost.
She already knows like what happened, everything.
Yeah. Usually when we talk to her, it's the next day. So we just get all the insight
Yeah.
and then just share that. That's why we've been able to do what we do.
That's right. We But now it's nearly my birthday.
Ryan's been out suntanning, so his body's as red as his shirt.
It's the truth. It hurts so bad. I would post a picture, but nobody wants to see that, except for I sent it to Nick this morning.
Yeah, I don't know why you sent that.
Surprise!
I didn't even want to see that. So we do have a great topic this morning. We're talking about how to feel good and give back in your life. This is one of the topics from the mastermind class that we'll be teaching on the 28th of July this month. Alyssa Ann will be helping us to teach that section because I think she's masterful at this. And the beauty is that we didn't give her complete information coming in. So it put her in the space of like being anxious and nervous and worried about screwing it up, which is ideal for this topic.
Perfect.
So I'm going to do something a little different for our section here. I'm going to pull up some slides.
Yeah.
So sit back, get ready to fall asleep again. Right. I'll try and make it through these pretty easily. But you know, one of the things with behaviors, Alyssa Ann and Ryan, is we have a lot of weight around the way that we do things. And so I always start with gravity because gravity is one of those things that you really just can't avoid. It's a thing that deals with mass and heaviness, and our lives, our old way of doing things have a lot of mass. And so to break out and do something new, I love the image that's up here because it's like the earth has all this mass, and then you throw in the moon, and the moon has less mass by quite a bit. So if it were to try and pull away from the earth, it would have a hard time doing that because of the amount of mass and gravity that pulls it back into the old ways, right? Mm-hmm. So with our lives, we try and create something new, and often we find ourselves going back into our old ways. And so if you're constantly afraid or feeling anxiety or down, you've been really good at doing that. Ryan, you posted a video yesterday about the little boy, Chris Doris' video.
Mm-hmm.
And who else talked about that? Somebody else talked about
Maria
that.
Portas did.
Oh, yeah.
Hey, the great Maria.
Maria Portas.
Yes.
So gravity, I mean, Alyssa, as you hear that, as you look at the gravity of your life, your way of being, right, has been a certain way. Can you talk just briefly, like, what is that like to try and shift from that old way to the new way?
Well, I think you have to start with awareness to start with. And and know that things can be different. Know that you can change them at any time.
Yeah.
And that you're responsible to how you respond to things. You know, life is always going to happen to you. But you're in charge of you, and it's up to you for your response.
And I'm going to put you on the spot, and it's going to be awesome.
Not to do this.
So, you know, I look at my life. I have 46 years of living a certain way. Yeah. My best years are yet to come, right? And I say that every day, but the reality is it's a choice. And so as I step into it, that new life is going to gain mass, and it really is going to be the best years of my life. I had a training yesterday, and we talked about the ups and downs of life, right? And as you become aware, like you said, there's this point where your lows are somebody else's highs of highs. Like your lowest points are somebody else's highest point.
Yep.
And so you get to this point where as you grow, you start to develop this ability to get mass around the new behavior. So remember that you're going to have gravity that pulls you back into the old ways. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it does. Absolutely.
So here's an awesome quote. So emotions are not reactions to the world. They're your constructions of the world. And if you're not following Lisa Feldman, you might do that. Lisa Feldman Barrett. So she says an emotion is your brain's creation of what your bodily sensations mean in relation to what's going on around you in the world. Numerous experiments showed that people feel depressed when they fail to live up to their own ideas, but when they fall short of a standard set by others, they feel anxious. What does that bring up for you as you hear that?
Ryan, I think this one's for you.
Yeah, I think it was. It says Ryan Morris.
Yes.
Yeah, from Lisa. Dear
Ryan. Well, just this whole topic of the way that things, the way that I grew up perceiving the world, and the more things that came in to then support that, and then I developed, habits behind that. And like we go back to the gravity, and now there's 40 years in some things of history behind that. And then on top of that, I've told my story over and over and over again, and solidified that even more. And that's how I perceive the world. And it takes, going back, somebody talked about consciousness and awareness. A lot of times I was just being that and not being aware that there was anything different, or that maybe that there wasn't even anything wrong. It took some relationships, some strains in relationships, and some outside sources coming in and saying, "Hey, wow, talk to me about what went on in your childhood." And then started to deconstruct that a little bit and see it from a different view, and start going, oh my gosh, I there's an operating system that I've been living by, all of these years, and that operating system isn't serving me anymore. And having to find a new awareness behind that has been pretty. It can be painful. It can be scary, fear, right? Okay, there's a slide on fear. And those things, those emotions can have gravity as well. They can keep you stuck. I don't know if that answered the question, but that's what was in my mind at that moment in time.
That was perfect. Alyssa, did you have some additional thoughts to that?
Well, funnily enough, this morning for me, I had that. Yeah, it's been a very long day. I had that session with Debbie Roth, the forgiveness coach.
Yeah.
And it was very similar. Yeah, very, very similar to what Ryan just said about that awareness of being stuck in that story. And for me, it was the judgment that I had judged myself.
Yeah, wow. Yeah, think of that. The story is the story. It's a neutral thing, but then our judgment comes in, and our opinion of it comes in, and it makes it mean something, right? Debbie Roth is masterful at helping release that judgment, right? Yeah. Because really all we're forgiving in that case is our judgments. That's it.
Yeah, for me, it was like all the judgments of it was like a lot of it was made up.
Yeah.
Wondering, or playing out the stories in my mind, like these stories in my mind that, okay, people are going to see me a certain way, and then they're going to think this, and then they're going to do this. And they hadn't even thought that or done that yet. I just made it all up all these years of how it would be, and just kept myself doing the same thing.
Yeah.
And it served me to a point, mostly when I was younger, trying to, to make sense of, the different things and the reasons why things happen to me. But it didn't work as an adult. It was causing issues and trouble in my life, in my work, in my personal relationships. And so I'm glad you touched on that, Alyssa, with Debbie Roth, because that was true. It was the stories I was telling myself, and I still catch myself doing that, and I have to pause and be aware to it. And the more I'm aware of it, and then the faster that I can shift out of that, the faster that I can grow through it and start new habits and new patterns that do serve me.
So as part of this course that we're in right now, one of the things that he's teaching is that you don't plant your garden on top of a weed patch, right? A lot of the self-help gurus and programs that are out there right now, they're like, build this and do this and show yourself all the reasons why you're great, and just keep doing that. And they never go into uprooting the weeds that are in your life, right? And part of feeling good is to create and do these positive things. But the other part of feeling good is having a willingness to look at all the weeds. He used the analogy of looking at a yard, and you find the most pristine yard that you've ever seen, and you go zoom in on that yard and you'll see weeds.
Yes.
There's weeds, and that yard would be even more beautiful without the weeds. But it's beautiful enough that we don't even pay attention to the weeds. My life is good enough. And part of feeling good is being willing to go uproot all of the weeds. It's not where you're doing good that you need to grow. It's where you're not. It's where you're being small.
You might not even recognize that it's a weed.
Yeah.
You might think you're living in this beautiful garden and things are working out great, and
Yeah.
somebody points something out to you, and all of a sudden you see weeds.
Yeah.
That's kind of how it felt for me. Is I thought, man, I'm doing really great. I don't have any problems and issues. Well, it turns out.
Yeah, but I think that's what triggers are for, isn't it? Triggers bring that awareness.
Yeah.
That bit hurts, or that bit's setting me off, and then there's a judgment, and then you're like, oh wow, there's obviously something there that I need to heal, or something that I need to look into.
Always within here. Always within this container, and we are the container.
Yeah. Exactly.
One of the methods for feeling good, there's a therapist. He says, put your right hand under your armpit over your heart, and your other hand over your left arm or your right arm, and that's your container. And squeeze in and kind of hug yourself. Because what it does is it lets you realize that there's a finite capacity there. That you have a container, and it's everything that happens in your life happens within that container. And so it is stories, Ryan, like you hit on. It's these stories that we have. And then Alyssa, like you said, we have judgments around it. Like, I shouldn't be having this. I love this analogy. Do you know what this is? Alyssa, I'm going to put you on the spot. The bus.
No, I don't know what this analogy is. You tell me.
I'm glad we could put you here.
And that's the end of the show.
And that's it.
Leave it on a cliffhanger.
Yeah.
Sorry, Alyssa. You don't know? Well, that's too bad.
You're out of here. I'm going to wait for one of those big hooks to come and grab me by the throat.
Yeah.
So the bus is the idea that we all have emotions. We all have all kinds of emotions. We're meant to have emotions. We're designed to have emotions. Those mushrooms, those emotions. I had 5 hours of
come
sleep.
from
Talking about mushrooms now.
Yeah. Those are fun too. Those emotions are all within the bus, right? So you're the driver of the bus. So the emotions sit as passengers in the bus, and as they come up, let's say anger comes up. What happens is we engage with anger. We fight it. We say, you can't be here. We judge it. And then we stop driving the bus. And so we don't get to where we're going. Fear will come up, and we'll engage with fear. Sadness will come up, and we'll try and stop sadness from being sad. But sadness is sadness. That's what it does. So if it were a character in your story, you would just let it be its character. It's kind of like the movie In and Out, or is it Inside Out? I'm thinking of hamburgers already. Inside Out, right?
Yes.
So the idea here is that you have all these emotions going on within you. And so you're the driver of the bus. You're the one that decides where that bus goes. If you stop driving the bus to engage with anger and try and stop it from being what it is, then you stop driving the bus and you don't get to where you want to be. Does that make sense? The goal isn't to stop those from being passengers on the bus. The goal is to allow them to be on the bus, to start loving them while they're on the bus, to not kick them off because you need them. Alyssa, have you ever been pissed and it really served you?
Oh, for sure. Yeah. There's absolutely times when, anger comes up that you can channel it.
Yeah.
To get to getting something done, and getting that movement through it.
Yeah. Ryan, you have some thoughts around that?
Ryan's thinking about hamburgers.
Now I'm all all I can think about is eating hamburgers. No, the emotions they can be very powerful, and as you learn to recognize those emotions that come up and learn what to do with them. You talk about being leaves on a tree. I see that slide, and if you go and handle them a leaf at a time, that can be very, very frustrating because there's a lot of leaves on the tree, and you can constantly be putting out fires and trying to figure out all these emotions. It can put you in a huge tailspin.
Oh yeah.
If you go through and understand, okay, I'm feeling these emotions, sit with it and find out. Go back to this is Byron Katie type stuff, but go back to what's true, and become the driver of the bus. Be able to say, okay, I see you on the bus, but I'm in control. I'm the driver. I see you, Mr. Emotion, Mr. Fear, Mr. Anxiety, Depression, whatever it is for you. And then you can know what to do to tell it to sit back down. And you can start pruning the tree, the branches, versus handling the every single little emotion that pops up.
Yeah, so even more than that is the thoughts that come with it. The leaves are like the thoughts, because you have 50,000 to 70,000 thoughts a day, right? Yeah. Thoughts. And emotions are like the wind blowing those thoughts, like the leaves on the tree, right? And so the emotion comes up and it blows up all this dust, all these thoughts. And then you try and cut down the tree one leaf at a time. It's like, dude, you're going to lose. No one to keep up with that.
Possibly your sanity. Yeah.
And they keep coming up over and over and over again.
Yeah.
It's like never ending. You've a lot of thoughts. I have a lot of weird thoughts in a day.
Well, so emotions are tied to thoughts. So when you have an emotion, it's tied to thoughts. And even more, the branches are like your perceptions and beliefs. So if you look at a tree, the tree is you. But the branches are all these perceptions you have about the world, and tied to each of those branches are all these leaves, these thoughts. And so if you handle the leaves, you're going to lose. If you handle the perceptions, that's where your life shifts, because every leaf tied to that branch goes with it if that branch falls off. Does that make sense?
And that's the going back to what's true, right? And
which
and
is
then learning
relative. Yeah.
And then learning new habits, new patterns, new behaviors.
Grow a new branch, right?
He wants to know if the emotions cause the thoughts.
Well, it is intertwined. The thoughts actually cause the emotions.
I would think it's the other way.
Because how you perceive the world is going to affect your thoughts, and your thoughts are going to affect your emotions. And it will happen so quickly that you won't even be consciously aware of it. In fact, there's some studies now that show that about, I think, up to 8 seconds before you're conscious of it, they know which decision you're going to make. Cool. Like they're able to measure your decisions. And so it's not that you don't have choice in it. It's just that your brain is already processing before you're consciously aware of it. And so, if I were to say that, I would say your thoughts always affect your emotions. And then you might have emotions going on in your body, and they'll spin up and drum up additional thoughts. Any other thoughts around that one?
I think that's good.
Well, it's amazing how much content can be covered in 20 minutes. This is a topic that you really could teach on for a week or a month. But the whole idea here is when you are in your, let's say, unpowerful thoughts, you're disempowered. And the goal of getting into good positive feelings is to empower yourself, to get your whole body back, to be empowered completely. So part of being able to move forward and envision your future is to have full consciousness. And so when you go into your reptilian brain and you're in survival mode, Alyssa, kind of like you were this morning, freaking just how do I do this? Where's all my information? Ryan and I have done this so many times that we come into these shows, like no matter what happens, we know we can handle it. But in the very beginning, not even close.
Yeah,
I
right.
look back at how bad they were at the beginning.
Yeah.
Now you know
Hey,
where I am then.
but the
Yes.
interesting thing is the more we were conscious and aware of it and prepared and worked on ourselves,
Yeah.
the better we got. And I don't know if we're quite that professional yet, but we're getting better and better and learning through experience.
Yeah.
And yeah,
Yeah.
and it goes how it goes. It's there for just that, for our experience. So
It gets to the point, Alyssa, like when you're going along, that your lowest points will be somebody else's highest points. That you're going to get so comfortable in the new behavior that when you have a low day, somebody else is going to look at that and say, if only I could be that.
Yes.
What's that bring up for you?
Yeah. Oh, I think that's very true. That's why, as you know, I go into nature nearly daily just to
Yeah.
ground myself, and just whenever I do get overwhelmed or anything, I know that I can go back to that place. And I know that by posting and sharing those stories, people get a lot from it, even if it's just a picture of a waterfall and things like that. They're just like, oh, I wish I could be there, and I could, that's why I do so many videos of them, because everyone loves the sounds of rivers and things.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, that yeah. So we
So,
can take an action, I suppose, to change, is what I'm trying to say.
yeah, say that again. So,
That we can take an action to change our state.
okay. So this is, you hit on a key, like a huge point right here. Everybody has emotions.
Yes.
Everybody has emotions, positive and negative. Those emotions get judged. And then our judgment is where we act from
mm-hmm.
or don't act from.
Yes.
And that action takes the
and
emotion, brings it into the reality.
and inaction is an action. It is a
Yeah.
choice.
Yeah.
Yeah, I agree.
And so it's our actions that impact our world, not our emotions. Our emotions are simply there. Having an emotion doesn't make you a broken person or a bad person. Having an emotion just makes you human. Acting on it is what distinguishes a positive or a useful thing from an unuseful thing. So there are people in prison who had very negative emotions that acted on those. There are people who are not in prison that had the same emotions but did not act on those. Philip Zimbardo, he talks about the ability of humans to do really dark things, all of us. And we go around denying that we have those kind of emotions. We don't want people to know we have those thoughts or emotions. I was listening to a book the other day, and she was saying that we can even have homicidal emotions, but acting on them is what distinguishes a person.
Yes.
So you being able to have a difficult emotion, but go act on something peaceful,
Yes.
that's the power.
Yeah, I agree. That's the key.
So a lot of people give up too quick.
Mhm.
Jocko Willink, he says, if you're still breathing, that means you've still got some fight left in you. So get up, dust off, reload, recalibrate, re-engage, and go out on the attack. Like re-engage. That's where people miss out, is they don't come back.
No,
Is
that's
that,
true.
yeah. What do you think as you hear that?
Ryan, it's your turn.
I love my turn.
Oh, yeah.
See, I'm
That's
getting good
just
at
that's
this.
just the key, though, right? To like, every day, to wake up and you have a fresh start, and you can change instantly, like right now, right now. That's the craziest thing is that it's only always a choice,
Yeah.
and it's there. The universe is there to support you in whatever you want to do, and it doesn't have any judgments, and so it'll support you in whatever you think is positive and negative, and it's just always there to support however it can. There's universal law that, as you plant seeds into the ground, they'll grow. It doesn't matter what kind they are. It could be, this is from Earl Nightingale. You can plant nightshade or you can plant corn. You water those and it'll grow in equal abundance. You can get nightshade, which is a deadly poison, or you could grow corn.
Wow.
The
Yeah.
universe doesn't care. The ground doesn't care. So go
Mm,
plant in fertile ground. Go plant that which you want. Hopefully,
yes.
it's good.
Yeah.
The universe will support you.
Did you have some thoughts come up around that, Alyssa?
Oh, I just think that comes back down to personal responsibility.
Hmm.
You know, that you that you being responsible for your thoughts and actions.
Yeah.
Yeah, and how you're perceiving yourself. You know, you can be a victim and you can stay down.
So getting mad at the sun for my sunburns is
Yeah, that's not going to cut
gosh,
it.
dang it, it's not my fault. It was the
Dang it.
sun's fault. It's coming up and
I
it's
just want to
burned
walk
me.
around with my shirt off. Freaking sun. Can't do anything these days.
That's on you, my friend.
So yeah, you're only always responsible for
Yeah.
your experience, and that's what we're doing. Is you have this experience, what's going on within you, and then you have your reality, what's going on outside of you, and that reality is created by what's going on inside of you, by the actions that you take around that. And so on the next section here, you know, and we'll go through this fairly quickly on the giving back. So when you start to feel good and you start to take care of yourself, you're able to change your life. And in that, you start to feel good. In the story, Rick grows into a giant, but it's not enough for him to be a giant. He wants to go back and teach other smalls how to do that for themselves. And so, again, within yourself, you're going to have this journey where you want to do more. You want to climb mountains, and you never want to reach the peak. You just want to climb as many peaks and mountains as you can. We call them topless mountains. There's a few things in life that I love that are topless, and mountains are one, and I guess cars are the other.
I was nearly going to flash that.
Just kidding. I can't say the
Cars
other
and
one.
mountains.
So Martin Luther King, he says life's most persistent and urgent question is, what are you doing for others?
Yes.
Man, what do you think as you hear that?
As giants, you know, I see people that are on here. I know Hugh, I know Maria, I know Mancherry, I know people that are out there each and every day that they're working on themselves. They put that oxygen mask on themselves first, right? Just like on a plane, when something goes wrong, they tell you to put the mask on yourself first, then you can assist others. And they do that. They refill their vessel. They become as whole as possible. But as they do that, then their container overflows, and they can share that with others. I know that Maria does that. I know that Hugh Jacobson does that. I know that Mancherry does that on the daily, and that's a giant thing to do. Yeah, I think it's natural in that progression. Is you it's, I don't know if that's just a human trait. I don't know.
I think it is. Alyssa, what do you think on that?
I was trying to think of that that saying with fishing. You know, you give a man a fish and he eats for a day, but you teach a man to fish.
Yeah.
And he eats forever, and then
he says a lot of swear words when he gets his line caught in the tree.
And then yells at the sun, "Why did you burn me?"
That's right. Yeah, but I think we're here to grow. I think that's our primary job and be the best humans we can be. But I think our whole path is learning, teaching.
Yeah. Wow. Yeah.
I think that's what it is. I fundamentally believe that is our duty.
Yeah.
You know, and that's why I've chosen the careers that I chose and everything, because I believe in that giving back.
Yeah, salad again.
We'll keep teaching you. Yeah. It's okay. You'll get it one day. We'll catch you a fish, buddy.
So Denzel Washington says at the end of the day, it's not about what you have or even what you've accomplished. It's about who you've lifted up, who you've made better. It's about what you've given back. And so, I mean, just a simple section here, but the reality is that we have a purpose of unlimited growth and unlimited giving back. Yes. And so teaching others their power, like you said, it's all within us. We have the story. We're the ones that are responsible. But sometimes that little lift of the hand, that pat on the back, that hug, that gentle nudge is enough to remind us of our power.
And that's why I think it's so important for us to share our stories.
Yeah.
as we were talking about the one on divorce, we know what it's like to feel broken. We know what it's like to go into that place of just, I don't know how I'm going to get over this.
Right.
And then you can see somebody who then says, "Oh, I've been there."
Yeah.
And these are some tools that work for me. Why don't do you want to try this one on and try that one on and all the rest of it?
But there's a distinction between rescuing and inspiring.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, we can only live our own journey. Like,
absolutely. It comes back to that.
Alyssa's a world away. She can't come here where I'm at and live my journey. But through technology, we've become really great friends, and I can lean on her, and she can learn from her, and gather more tools from my tool belt, where I can go on my own adventure.
Exactly.
Say adventure.
Sunscreen for you, though, mate.
Yeah, say adventure.
You have to say adventure now.
Adventure.
She says adventure way better than I do.
Yeah, way better. Brian, don't ever say adventure again. If
I know.
Need help, call Alyssa.
Just gonna call every time I need to say the word adventure, except for that time.
So as you're on your journey, as we wrap this up, you're going to have, let's call them unuseful, not unpowerful, not bad, not wrong, unuseful emotions. And when they come up, you're going to have unuseful judgments more than anything about those emotions. So, and it's within you to change the story, the narrative. And so if you can release the judgment, it puts you in a space of neutrality. If there is no judgment about your thoughts and emotions, it impacts how you show up. And so you're going to take different actions. If you can come from a space of neutrality, like Debbie Roth teaches, and be neutral with your emotions, then you're not going to judge them, and you're probably going to take some actions that would really be useful for your life. Mm-hmm. And then as you grow and develop in that, you're going to want to give back. You're going to want to go back and serve others and give them a hand and help them up. And that seems to be a natural progression. But it starts, like you said, Ryan, with putting the oxygen mask on you first, so you can get yourself into that capacity so that you're overflowing, and then you can help the other person.
Yeah, and Hugh just talked about who created the understanding of what each emotion means. That's society, and that's other people, and then that's also ourselves. If we created that, so finding out, going back to what's true, you can start feeling those emotions, and then figuring out what's true. That's it.
Perfect.
I mean,
I love that you say that. I've actually got written on my mirror in the bathroom, what is true and beautiful. That's my
I
one
like
of my
that.
daily mantras that I look at every single day. And, when I'm in that space where I'm just, and I come back to that, and I can just breathe it in and just go, well, it's all around me, isn't it?
One of the things I'm doing right now is I've got to write a list. So last week I did a journal of what I desire most and what's a dream that I gave up on. This week, for the next 2 weeks, it's what are the unuseful thoughts that I'm having. And if you ever want to venture in and get really offended by Nick Smith, man, listen to my unuseful thoughts.
Really?
But if you think about it, the thoughts that we have, we don't ever pay attention to them. We operate, we just go automated, and we let them run. But when you slow down and you start staring at the weeds and you start pulling those weeds up, it makes a difference. We have to be aware of them to change them. Yeah. And so part of that awareness is slowing down enough to document, holy crap, what do I have running? Right.
That was actually one of the tasks, very similar to what Debbie Roth gave me today. What upsets you? And I was just, first of all, I went off into this other sort of, and she went, no, you haven't actually answered the question. And then I was like, oh, wow, that's really big to sit with.
Yeah.
This was, it was uncomfortable,
Yeah.
Yeah.
Steve Hardison, which came first, chicken or the egg? Thoughts, emotions, thoughts. The question is, do I attach to that? Wow, right there. Yeah. Or do I notice it and then choose to be who to be regarding both? Man, that is it. You are always in control of who you be. Your story. Who do you want to be?
That choice. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Be that. So any other thoughts before we wrap up?
No, it's been fun.
It went fast. I mean, we're 35 minutes in.
We
I'm
went
just
over
grateful
our
to be on.
progress.
Yeah. Glad to have you. Guys, thanks for being on. Remember that as you go through this, we're humans. We're gonna have emotions.
Yeah.
What they mean is up to us. What we do with it is up to us. The actions are what create your life. So you can have all kinds of crazy emotions going on inside of you. And so you can still create something powerful. So you guys make it a giant day. Thanks for being with us, and we'll see you in the next video.
Love you too.